because the next strata is the exciting one. It's the one that gets all the headlines. It's the one that gets the press. This is when your net worth, excluding your primary residence, gets into seven-figure land. You are now officially a millionaire in terms of the wealth that you've built to this point.
Yeah, this one puts you, I mean, once you have this, you're in the top 12%.
This is rarefied
States.
air up here.
Yeah, and by the way, if you go into liquid net worth, this number gets even, it gets below 5%. So that's an incredible thing when we talk about this. And I know there are some naysayers out there. They'll look at this and they'll say, hey, we just came through a big inflationary period. You guys are still talking about $1 million. We've moved on from that. Now we're at 3 million. We're at 5 million, 10 million. I can tell you, you realize we've done all this content where we show you this gets easier and easier because once it gets to a certain critical mass, the money grows upon itself. I can tell you this, as soon as you get to your first million, that second million happens that much faster. It's very quick. The third, fourth, fifth, you don't get to 5 million without $1 million first. You don't get to 10 million without that first million. Don't sleep on this. And also, don't let somebody tell you, hey, just because the goal has moved to 3 million, don't worry about this or give up. You can do this.
Another common fallacy, and we see this all the time, is that someone assumes that, okay, now that I've gotten to $1 million, I need to do something different. I need to change something about how I'm building. See, Brian, I played baseball growing up, right? And I had coaches that would always say this. We'd get to the tournament, we get to playoffs, we get to state, we get to whatever it is, and we would get there playing ball a certain way. We had a certain strategy, we did it a certain way. And he would always say to us, boys, don't forget to dance with the one that brung you. Don't forget the thing that got you to where you are. Don't assume that just because you are here now, you have to do something different. And so often we see people do that. So often they think, because now I have $1 million, I've got to do something more aggressive, more risky, more sophisticated, more fill in the blank. That's not the case. It's okay to continue building wealth the boring way, even when the numbers get big.
Yeah, and by the way, just because you reach millionaire status, especially liquid millionaire status, don't let somebody try to sell you on some doctor deal because it's sexy or has a sizzle. This is what other rich people do. You know, we deal with a lot of millionaires, and there's nothing wrong with that boring, low-cost index fund. There's nothing wrong with that risk-adjusted, low-cost portfolio that you're dealing. There's nothing wrong with, just thinking about basic tax planning, not getting into something so sophisticated that it's really spinning your head. And you're like, this is so complex. I don't even understand what we're doing anymore. Yep. You can actually be successful with a lot of the same behaviors that got you to that seven-figure status.
Yeah, none of that changes. Living on less than you make, thinking about risk, focusing on the things that you can control, like taxes, focusing on your behavior, how much I'm saving, am I still putting my money to work? Those things are still great. But even considering that, reaching 1 million could mean it's time to start adding stuff, not changing what you're doing, but as you get to that phase, as you get to that stage of your wealth building journey, there might be some things that you want to consider. Like early on, you're focused on accumulate, build. As the assets get bigger and as you start to move into that place, now you're beginning to think about the finish line. What does the finish line look like? What am I actually working towards?
Yeah, are you ahead of the curve, behind the curve, or right where you need to be? Because this is where I don't want you to be that financial miser where your loved ones are saying, why do we still stay this way? Why are we doing it this way? And it's actually taking away from the happiness or the memory building opportunity. So actually do the work of knowing, are you ahead of the curve? Because then maybe you can pull back a little bit on what your savings rate or your investment rate, maybe live a little bit more, but don't skip the step of actually doing the work of knowing your number. And that's why we actually created that course and the tool at learn.moneyguy.com.
Yeah, this is a great thing. If you can define what you want your future life to look like, you can put this into the tool and it will actually tell you, okay, what's required for me to get from where I am now to where I want to be in the future. And it defines that finish line for you. Another thing that you can start thinking about is as you start to reach this seven-figure land, and as your net worth grows above $1 million, now you can begin focusing not just on the make wealth or the get wealthy behaviors, but now you get to focus on the maintain wealth or the stay wealthy behaviors. And those are at this stage just as important as the make wealth behaviors were early on in your journey.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with when you're in the stay wealthy phase to de-risk your life. And that might even make sense to pay down low interest debt. There's nothing wrong with that. It also might mean that you have this glide path or understanding that your portfolio is going to be a little bit more conservative so that risk capacity issue doesn't come up and bite you because you just don't have as much time to wait for recovery. And then don't forget, I always amaze, more than likely, this is your first journey into building 7-figure status. And you don't have a lot of blind spots. You have people selling you on stuff and you just like, I just don't know what I don't know. Or you're busy because you are a successful person, so there's a lot of obligations going into that. There's nothing wrong with bringing in somebody, taking the relationship to the next level. I would ask you, hey, remember the abundance cycle. Who planted the seeds? Who taught you to learn, to apply these concepts of good financial management and helped you grow to the level that you are? I'd love for you to pay it back to us through the abundance cycle. Go check us out at Work With Us. You can go to moneyguy.com. We have all kind of, or even aboundwealth.com. We have great resources for you.
And then one of the other things, again, as you get to this stage, as you have $1 million net worth outside of your home, you may begin at this stage thinking about new accumulation opportunities. Is this the time when I want to get into real estate, or do I want to think about starting a business or investing in a small business? But you need to make sure that you measure 2, 3, 4 times before you do this, because again, you're not changing the strategies that got you to where you are. You're just recognizing that in addition to what I am doing, maybe now there are other things I could be doing as well.